most amazing coffee you're ever going to have. It's there's 2 locations in New Hartford and Renix and Voss's in Yorkville. Daylight Donuts, of course, the ice cold, the iced lattes, the iced coffees. Their smoothies. Listen, the smoothies are all natural, and they have only 110 calories in each one. Pretty good deal. That's the smoothies and the iced coffee and the coffee alone. There's the 20-minute rule. Always the freshest cup of coffee is served because after 20 minutes they dump and start all over again. And it's Chuck over at Daylight Donuts. We every Friday make a delivery of donuts and coffee to somebody. And today we've selected Hampton Inn. I'd forgotten there's a Hampton Inn. I think it's brand new down there on North Genesee Street. Do we know?
Yep.
I think it's new, right?
Yep. Yeah, I don't think it's that old. I just happened to drive by and I saw it.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
Out of nowhere.
That went up fast.
Yeah.
My name is Lee Arthur, and this fax is in reference to the Friday Daylight Donuts contest. I think we're a good choice because we've brought a lot of people to Utica who normally would try to drive to the next Hilton property.
All right.
Either on to Syracuse or on to Albany.
We call sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And once we have our guests here, we are always suggesting all the great Italian restaurants we have, as well as the shopping centers, the FX Mets Brewery, Munson Williams Proctor Institute, and much more. 12 employees working today. They have one, these right down the whole list. Mm-hmm. One breakfast hostess, 8 housekeepers, their GM, electrician, and Lee. They thank us for it. Anyway, we've selected them. So there's the deal. Okay, Hampton Inn, and I believe it'll be Nicole that'll be delivering there today. It's Daylight Donuts, Yorkville, and New Hartford. Richard Hanna in this morning. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
How are you?
Doing well.
So are you glad you got into all this? Because this could be this looks like it's on the way to being a dirty campaign.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Not on our part. We have stuck strictly to his record, and people can look at it and make up their own minds about it. What's amazing to me is that they have gone as deep in the mud as they can get almost right away.
Yeah.
And I think it's a sign that they know they're in trouble. I also think it doesn't speak well of a guy who claims to want to talk about the issues, and said he wants to run on his record, and that he's a person with ideas.
Yeah.
None of that comes out in his ads.
I got to tell you, let's talk about the ads a little bit because we yesterday talked about the negative ads.
Yeah, right. Yep.
And there's a negative ad about you. There's a negative ad out there. There are a couple of negative ads about you and a couple of negative ads out there about him. Interestingly, the clarification that we have to make that I'm not sure that I made yesterday is that the ads that are negative about Mike Arcuri are brought in by the Democratic National Party. Or, I'm sorry, by the Republican Party.
Yeah.
The ads, some of the ads that are negative on Arcuri, some of those negative ads, you have the Arcuri tag at the end. And that was brought up to us. So you're saying you're not, we
haven't run any negative ads.
You're not running negative ads.
We never did, in the last race, we never ran any negative ads. It was all his record. It was all provable, and it was proven. If you won't go back and look at KTV or the OD, what you found was that they complained about some of what he said in his ads, and that a lot of it was found to be untrue.
Right.
Never happened to us, not one time. I'm a person of integrity. I'm not here to sling mud or talk badly unnecessarily about somebody. But clearly, that's the road they're going down.
Well, it looks like the ads are trying to portray you as this evil multimillionaire.
Right. I know.
They've handed government contracts and that sort of thing. I mean, address some of that stuff.
Well, I've been in business for 30 years. One of the claims they make is that we've had thousands in fines. Over about 30 years, we've had about $3,000 in miscellaneous fines, $100 a year.
Yeah.
We have never had a complaint to the Attorney General about us. We've never had a complaint about us to the Better Business Bureau. We've had a few lawsuits when you're in construction. They've been dismissed. What they have done is they've taken things and tried to portray them in a way that makes us look bad. But I'm very, very proud of my business. I've had over 450 employees in my life. I started with absolutely nothing. I've worked alone for a number of years and been very successful. And I have a great reputation amongst not just the people who work with me, but the people that I work for. And I think that for Mr. Arcuri to do something like this, which is so counter to everything he said he would do, it's not really surprising, but it's disappointing because these are such important times in this country, and all he wants to do is destroy his opponent.
Now, to be fair, the ads that were done by the Republican National Committee seem to be what we said yesterday is they're unfair on both sides.
There are none out that I know of.
We have. What's the one that we have on?
I think it's called Americans for Job
Americans
Security.
for Job Security.
Right,
That's what that
right.
Americans for Job Security.
Correct. I'm sorry. It was not the Republican Party. It was that,
That's what I saw on TV,
public
so
interest group. That's an unfair.
Right.
It's an unfair ad. It says that our Curie voted to whatever the whole thing is. It takes these commercials tend to take little pieces. Like in your case. You can always tell. You got to try to read into these. I pause them and rewind them and look at them, and I like to read the disclaimers too, because you learn a little bit about what's being said.
Yeah.
For instance, about you, anybody could say he was sued. Well, but you don't know the outcome of
Right,
anybody could be sued.
You know something? If Mr. Arcuri had had any experience out of government, he would understand that. 30 years of business, he'd look at our record, he'd applaud it.
Right.
Anybody else would. You cannot survive in construction for 30 years if you don't do things well.
Right.
And we have never overcharged. When my uncle was mayor, we did work for him. We've done work for every administration. We've done work for the Rufaro administration. So, that's the business I was in. This is the community I live in and have contributed back to. So I'm not only proud of what I've accomplished, but I really would like to see other people able to do what I've been able to do in my life.
Could you tell me about your construction company? Tell us about. Everybody here is Richard Hanna's construction company, and that you're self-made and all of this stuff. But I don't think anybody, and I guess that's me. I've never really. What is the name of the company? What do you do? What kind of construction
Hanna
work?
Construction.
Okay.
And it's still an existing entity. We're not working now. My sister is actually running her business, which I have no interest in, and she's doing okay. Mm-hmm. It's hard around here, as everyone knows, but they're surviving. They do good work, and I have
same thing as Hanna Construction.
No, she calls it Central New York Construction.
Okay.
I have no interest in it whatsoever, and she's doing fine. She's very smart. My nephew works very hard, and they're surviving and doing all right.
Tell us, why. I mean, look, the poll came out recently. Interestingly, You can never forget polls and their accuracy. There's a Quinnipiac poll that's out.
Right. That has Palladino trailing 6 points.
By 6 points. And then there's a Siena poll that came out yesterday that has him trailing by like 30 points.
Oh, yeah.
So you never know with polls.
Well,
but
that's right. Siena had Palladino and Lazio neck and neck just before the primary.
Right.
And the outcome. Clearly, Palladino was way ahead. Polls are a snapshot in time. They're a function of who you happen to call that day.
Sure.
They're not all put together the same, and they're not, they're renowned for being inaccurate. Our polls show us to be in very good shape. This is a very winnable race.
Well, even the Siena poll that came out shows you within the margin of error.
Well, I feel good about it. As a guy who had the closest race in the country, which makes me the #1 loser, a congressional loser.
Is that what you want to be?
No, it's not what I set out to do.
Yeah.
But when you realize that at this time in the last race we were 20 or more points behind, and now according to some polls were ahead, some polls were behind. Just to be competitive against an incumbent is good, especially last time to come as close as we did because it was such a terrible environment.
Yeah.